Dwudziestego 26 września w Ottawie odbyła się uroczystość nadania przez prezydenta Lecha Wałęsę 26 medali Armii Krajowej dla lotników kanadyjskich, którzy polegli, niosąc pomoc płonącej Warszawie. Uroczystość ta odbyła się z inicjatywy Samodzielnego Koła Armii Krajowej w Montrealu pod przewodnictwem pana Mariana Wagnera. Pan Marian Wagner odczyta teraz przemówienie z okazji tej uroczystości.
Your Excellency, on behalf of the Western veterans assembled here today, I wish to thank you for having us here. The veterans of both the Canadian Armed Forces and the Polish Armed Forces during the last war share the same principles, namely, they were flying thousands of miles and fighting thousands of miles from home and their families for freedom of others, nations, often side by side. One of the participants here present, he has received the highest military decoration, Virtute Militare, from General Maciek, commander of the Polish First Corps in the Battle of Falaise Gap in France. The Canadian Armed Forces, heavy artillery, under able direction of the Honorable Colonel Pierre de Sévigny, stopped the German advances and saved the Sherman tanks from annihilation. Colonel de Sévigny was mortally wounded in that battle, but managed to pull through. Another units of the Air Force, whose members were jointly associated in the Canadian Air Force Association, here were instrumental in defeat of the enemy. They are represented here by the large number, as you can see. I'd like to thank now the Poles won the war, but lost their country, and freedom followed for the next 50 years of Soviet occupation. I'd like to thank our MC, Master of Ceremonies, Dr. Andrzej Galicki, and his wife, Wanda Galicka, who is also president, vice president of the Ottawa branch of the Montreal Association. Their efforts were essential to the success of the event, and which we greatly appreciate. Your Excellency, I take a moment to give credit to those where credit is due, to our most senior member of our association who tirelessly participated in our activities since he came to Canada, Great Britain, and now residing in Canada. He is Canadian citizen, and he was also one of the last commanders of the most secret organization which was formed in Poland in 1945. Its name was NIE. Ladies and gentlemen, I like to present to you Captain Edward Kamitz. At this moment, I would like to particularly thank my Vice President, Andrzej Szewczyk, for his great assistance I have received from my executive when I was unable for the last few days to attend the presentation of the medals in Ottawa on the 26th. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
W dalszym ciągu programu zobaczą Państwo uroczystość nadania medali. Program będzie w dwóch odcinkach, gdyż jest bardzo długi. Pierwsza część będzie na placu i druga część będzie w ambasadzie Rzeczypospolitej Polskiej. Ja chciałbym Państwu przypomnieć, że dokładnie rok temu i 1 miesiąc i 26 dni pan Wagner na uroczystości podobnej z okazji 50-lecia Powstania Warszawskiego zobowiązał się w stosunku do telewidzów naszej drogiej Tele Poloniki, że odznaczenia dla Kanadyjczyków, którzy nieśli pomoc w Warszawie, zostaną wręczone i dokonane z inicjatywy Koła Armii Krajowej w Montrealu. I trzeba przyznać, że dokonał tego, za co panu Marianowi, całemu zespołowi serdecznie gratuluję. A więc teraz będą Państwo oglądali uroczystość, prawda, nadania, całych uroczystości związanych z nadaniem krzyży. Do zobaczenia.
Thank you, Mrs. Gonerko. Now I'll call upon Admiral Fred Mifflin, the Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of National Defense and Veteran Affairs, representing the Government of Canada, to deliver this address. Sir.
Excellency, dear Mr. Sutherland, Mr. Chatterton, my colleague Jesse Fliss, distinguished veterans all, and honored guests. On behalf of the Government of Canada, I am very pleased and indeed honored to join with all of you early this afternoon as we pay tribute to the 26 Canadian airmen who give their lives in the skies over Poland. We, as Canadians, are honored that the President of the Republic of Poland, Mr. Lech Walesa, has approved the posthumous award of the Polish Home Army Cross to these brave men. This afternoon, His Excellency Ambassador Diem will present the 26 medals in trust and in person to those families who are able to be here, and for those in trust in the care of the Canadian War Museum. We have gathered here at the Canadian Airmen Memorial so that all of us can commemorate and honor the sacrifice and the valor of those young men. Au cours des dernières années, nous avons marqué le 50e anniversaire de Numéro et d'Indépendance, important de la Seconde Guerre mondiale. Nous avons participé à des pèlerinages des anciens combattants dans divers cimetières de la Sicile, aux Pays-Bas, de la Normandie jusqu'à Hong Kong. La plupart des Canadiens auxquels nous rendons hommage aujourd'hui ont péri au cours des missions de vol visant à soutenir l'insurrection de Varsovie qui eut lieu en août et en septembre 1944. Il n'existe aucun cimetière officiel de guerre dédié aux jeunes aviateurs qui paraient en vol pour libérer les colons. Mais le sacrifice de ces belles hommes est à jamais gravé dans la mémoire de ceux qui les aiment. Et leur sacrifice est une résonance toute particulière dans la cour des centaines de milliers de Canadiens d'origine polonaise qui se sont installés au Canada. Nearly 200,000 people have come to Canada from Poland before the Second World War. They settled throughout Canada, in places like Winnipeg, Renfrew County, not far from here, the Saskatchewan prairies, and indeed the streets of Montreal. In 1939, Canadians of all ethnic origins responded to the invasion of Poland. Polish Canadians did not have the occasion, as Dr. Diem pointed out, to fight for the liberation of their homeland. But many of them lie in the cemeteries of Italy, Normandy, and in Japan. They died for freedom, they died in the service of Canada, and they died in the hope of eventual victory of a cause that would liberate the land of their ancestors. And if I could be permitted a personal aside, in my association over the years with veterans organizations in Canada, Ambassador, I've always been terribly impressed by the dedication and the great valor that has been exhibited by those Polish people who served for Canada, because that was the thing to do for them. And we, all Canadians, very much honor and respect that. And this is a manifestation of the return today to that feeling. Ladies and gentlemen, it was left to others, because of the circumstances that I have described, Canadians with last names like O'Leary, Gorak, and Centra, young men who left their homes to fight for the freedom of Poland. Freedom was a long time in coming, but more than half a century after the valiant uprising in Warsaw, the flame of Polish nationalism burns brightly and has been an example to the world. Today we honor the sacrifice and the courage of Canadians who died in Poland. And in so doing, we also honor the bonds that join the people of Canada and the people of Poland. May those bonds continue to grow stronger, and may we rekindle our commitment to friendship between two nations as we rededicate ourselves to the cause of peace and the cause of freedom. Je vous remercie. Thank you, Jean-Pierre.
Now I will call upon Mr. Victor Sadren, Director of the Canadian War Museum, who will become a keeper of this process which will be presented this afternoon. Mr. Sadren, sir.
Your Excellency, Admiral Mifflin, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, c'est vraiment un plaisir, au nom de l'Union canadienne d'Argel, d'être partie de cet événement qui est très important, non seulement pour l'histoire de la Pologne, mais pour le Canada. Ladies and gentlemen, the Canadian War Museum, Canada's National Museum of Military History, is deeply honored by the gesture and the action that is being taken today. If one looks at the history of the world and looks at the struggles of people who have a sense of their own identity, but because of geography, because of the will of strong and sometimes ruthless men, have had to fight with great difficulty for their survival and for their dignity. No story is prouder than that of the Polish people. No story can draw forth more admiration, more respect, more honor, more simple sympathy than that of the Polish people. For those Canadians who fought alongside Poles in the Second World War, no one could have been a stronger ally, a more courageous comrade in arms. Their record of valor is unequaled. For that reason, the sacrifice of those Canadians who flew over Warsaw, who were there when terrible events were taking place below, is doubly important. Because if in their sacrifice we see a link today to the common dedication to principles of freedom, of personal expression, of the development of national identity, and the safeguarding of it, then their death will not have been in vain. As we hope that none of the deaths of that terrible war were not in vain. I wish to assure you, Your Excellency, the Government of Poland, that the Canadian War Museum is deeply sensitive to the honor being accorded it. Accordingly, the Home Army crosses we shall receive, we will care for with dignity and with honor. And when the time comes and the families are found, you have our word, Your Excellency, they will be presented in the same spirit of dignity and honor that pervades this ceremony today. Sir.
Thank you, Mr. Sadren.
Friends, before I start the prayers, I would like to say, because my journey is the journey of all the forces of Poland. I was taken prisoner of war the first day the Bolshevik Russia invaded Poland, September 17th, 1939, but I escaped. I was young, already a chaplain to the forces, and later I was taken prisoner by German army. And I escaped and came to Middle East, first to Syria, but after the fall of France, we crossed to Palestine and started with the armies, with the British command, defending Alexandria, Tobruk, and the desert all around, also was greeting the army coming from Russia, liberated Polish army, and with the very first units, I came with the invasion of Italy to Taranto, and all the way through Monte Cassino, Ancona Loreto, and Bologna, where I was the happy one to bring as a guide and inspirator to save the big city and the first university of the world in Bologna. I was allowed, being alive yet, though the soldiers fade away and I'm still alive, to conduct one of the three chaplains, the ceremonies of all ceremonies in Monte Cassino, at the cemetery there, for the all British armies, one of the three of them. And I was allowed to pray in Polish, because I was representing the 2nd Polish Army Corps that took over after many tries of the Monte Cassino. Now I am here, and because I was so close to the region of Bari, where the airmen took over in the flights overnight to Poland. There were not too many, except 26 of the Canadian and almost as many from the South Africa. Most of them did not return. I saw them going, I haven't seen them returning. As His Excellency Ambassador Guy told that Poland, the Warsaw Rising, was inspired by all the allies, the same as by Stalin, stopped there. After the destruction of Warsaw, the population of Warsaw being over 1 million, there were left only 60,000 in the ruins. Today, we have the honor to commemorate some of my friends. And I was told, wherever I will be, I will represent my friends. They are from many cemeteries all around the world, especially in Middle East and in Italy. They were part of myself too. Lord God, we praise you and give you thanks for your goodness and love. We thank you for the generosity of the 26 Canadian airmen who gave their lives in the aid of Poland, and especially for the people of Warsaw during their struggle for freedom. They were the expression and hope, and the great sacrifice of yesteryear allows us to live in freedom and peace today. May their courageous example inspire us to imitate their virtue in the face of adversity and be a source of hope to all those suffering under the yoke of oppression. Wszechmogący Boże, który stworzył ludzkość i kazał jej formować społeczności i kraje, narody, rozkazałeś im bronić tych wszystkich zasad, rodziny i kraj i wszystkich instytucji. Dlatego synowie i córki narodu polskiego przez wieki to czynili. I w tej ostatniej wojnie, tak zwanego Blitzkriegu i Total War, poświęcili wszystko i życie, i mienie. Prosimy Cię, wspomnij na ofiary tych wszystkich, którzy w milionach polegli, ażebyśmy, co zostali przy życiu, mogli żyć w pokoju. Prosimy Cię, daj nam tyle sił, byśmy umieli wszystkim powiedzieć i przekonać i rządy, i narody, że wojna nie przynosi szczęścia, tylko zatracenie i zniszczenie, żeby nigdy już nie było więcej wojny. Seigneur, nous te louons et te remercions par la bonté et l'amour que tu nous donnes. Nous te rendons grâce pour les 26 aviateurs canadiens qui ont donné leur vie pour aider la Pologne, et plus spécialement pour la population de Varsovie. Ils ont pavé la voie de la libération. Pour tout et les sacrifices nous permettent aujourd'hui de vivre dans la liberté.